So welcome to our roundtable session where we will be discussing high school life and the experiences of students who attended international schools. The session is designed to be informative and educational, welcoming and friendly, offering insights and advice to youngsters who may be considering attending a high school with an international curriculum. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Cherry, who studies in China, Wakanda, who studies in the United States, and Karen, who studied in Australia. These three individuals bring a wealth of knowledge and perspective to the table, having experienced the challenges and benefits of international education. For those who may have caught our movie project, Spend the Weekend, you may have already met Cherry, Wakanda, and Karen. The characters portrayed in the movies are deeply loved by audiences from across the globe, showcasing different aspects of their personalities and capturing hearts with their unique qualities. With Cherry radiating confidence and determination, Karen's gentle and compassionate nature standing out, and Wakanda's bringing a touch of youthful innocence with her candid personality. However, it's important to note that those characters are not necessarily representative of who they are in real life. This roundtable session provides a more authentic opportunity for folks to get to know them, learn about their experiences, and gain insights into their perspectives on high school and international education. Today, we are excited to continue getting to know them better and to be inspired by their stories. So sit back, get comfortable, and be ready to learn and be fascinated. Grab a cup of coffee and let's get started. Okay, so the first question is, Cherry, can you tell us about your experience attending a high school in China with an international curriculum? How did it differ from a typical high school experience?
Well, I guess I have never been to a Chinese local high school, so I don't really know like the specific differences, but from what I've learned from like my other friends that attend Chinese high schools, the difference is mainly in the way we teach, because there is this difference in Western education and Chinese education. In Western education, I guess we focus on a range of subjects, because I take the international baccalaureate curriculum, where you get to choose from six subjects from six different categories, including languages, language acquisition, mathematics, sciences, and the arts, and society, which is related to humanities. So you get to like have this understanding of a wide range of subjects that helps you to develop a more global-minded perspective, which is what the IB tries to do. While for the Chinese curriculum, I think it's more focused on the goal. It's goal-oriented towards taking the actual Gaokao exam, right? So it's more about, and there's also differentiation between Wenke and Like, which is like more mathematical, like science STEM stuff, differentiated against the humanities and societies and literature stuff. So I guess these are the main differences, so that for what I'm studying, like the IB is more well-rounded in a personal perspective. That's academic-wise. And for environmentalized, I guess it's more about how for Western education, well, in my school, you have to be more responsible for your own learning. You have to learn to be independent and try to grasp a lot of knowledge by yourself, because well, the teacher gives you a lot of support, but there is also that independence inside. I don't really know much about local high schools, but I believe that the teachers are very supportive in Chinese local high schools. But yeah, that's, I think, the main difference.
Great. So I was taking notes throughout the entire course, and I think that's a wonderful description of the differences between a more domestic way of teaching and an international way of teaching. Specifically, you talk about the IB curriculum, which I find fascinating. I don't know much about that earlier. So choosing 6 subjects from 6 categories surely sound quite fascinating. And you talk about independence of the learning process, which I think is something that I can personally resonate with because as I study in the University of Washington, that is basically the gist of the education there. But let me ask you this: do you think it will be challenging for uh, certain students who may not be accustomed to that level of independence?
Well, of course, it would be very challenging because um, I guess academically, just learning stuff and trying to learn stuff at school is itself very challenging. So yeah, along with that, becoming independent and also responsible for your own studies is something that requires a lot of grit and also a lot of self-motivation and independence. So yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. So let's get to Wakanda. So Wakanda, how has your high school experience in the United States with an international curriculum influenced your future education and career path?
I think my experience in US high school provide me more opportunity to make mistakes. So if I was studying in China, I probably will have chances to get in touch with the subjects or the fields I'm interested in after I get into college, because I gotta prepare for the 高考, and I gotta study subjects which is assigned by country, I don't know. And however, like in US, there's many elective course, and I can take the one and find out which one I'm interested in, and I can just find out the one I thought I'm interested in, but actually I'm not. For example, playwriting and screenwriting, which I take in trimester 1, and it just saved me time and like saved me energy.
Okay, great. So you talk about a certain situation that you face, which is when you're choosing an elective, and sometimes you find it interesting at the very beginning, but later on you realize, well, this is not as interested as I thought it would be, and then I can choose another alternative, which I totally agree. But I think, I'd like to try to anticipate what the opponents, if this is a debate, that is, on the other side would fight back. So the other party may say, well, then is it possible for you to develop a thorough understanding on one particular subject area if you can switch without any kind of restriction? Is that good in the long run? So how are you going to push back with that idea, or do you agree with that idea?
I don't really get your point. Can you rephrase it?
Okay, so I'm saying that there is someone who's trying to argue with you, and then that one says, "Oh, I don't really think that switching courses is good, because if you switch too easily, you cannot develop a thorough understanding on one particular subject area." So how are you going to fight back on that argument?
So I believe that there is a barrier no matter where, like no matter in what region you're in. So like it's not like you can switch whatever you want. And moreover, if you have no passion in a certain field and there's no way for you to get out of it, it's a tragedy. Like I think the harms of continuing on the field you're not interested in and suffering continues to suffer in this subject is outweigh the harms of switching. Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's get to Karen. So Karen, what were some of the challenges you faced while attending high school in Australia, and how did you handle them?
Challenges. Okay, so so one of the biggest challenge was to focus on studying, because I think compared to China, my high school in Australia is really like chill. A lot of my friends studies hard, but I think that's because they are self-motivated and they have a clear goal of like where they want to reach in their Gaokao results and which course they want to do in uni. But during my time at high school, I didn't really dive into like the future careers and courses. So I basically just stayed like just listen to what the teacher says and then do some homework, and that's it. But I didn't look at like the future, look into the future. So I didn't have a clear goal of what I want to achieve in my final year. And so my year 12 as well, the teachers, because I think they are really like, it's really dependent on like yourself. So the teachers don't push you a lot. They don't say something like you have to finish this or that. You just have like normal assignments every term. And for example, my math teacher don't check math homework. So most of the time I didn't really do or finish any of it. So yeah, it's really hard to make myself keep on track. And as a result, my Gaokao result was not as high as I wanted to be, but it also got me into the course I enjoy now. So I guess I'm fine with it, but I do hope I did a lot better like in studying and focus more on studying during high school. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. I think that would be a really great topic for students attending high schools to delve into, as what they would like to do in the future and how are they going to prepare themselves for their futures correspondingly. Okay, so speaking of that, Cherry, do you have any advice for students who are currently adjusting to a new school environment and culture at an international high school?
Well, I think, to be honest, I actually don't know because I have never transferred to any other high schools before. I've been in my current high school since like year 1. But just from my perspective, I guess if you're trying to adjust to the curriculum and an academic perspective, I think it's good to check and go to like the curriculum syllabus to check what it's all about. For example, if you study IB, just go to the IB website, try to understand what is generally required from the IB. For example, what are the subjects offered, what are the 6 subjects, and what are the stuff you have to do to graduate. For example, the 3 core curriculums such as the extended essay, CAS, and the theory of knowledge essay, etc., etc. And after understanding that, you try to understand some of the specific subject syllabus, I don't know. But that's for the academic perspective, trying to understand what you're going to learn and try to be aware of just try to get to know what you will expect in the classroom. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact the teacher either in person or send emails. I guess in person would be more productive and efficient, and I believe that the teachers will be very willing to support you in any way they can, because you are new to the school and new to the environment. And as for just in a social perspective, when you go to a new school, I guess it's trying to be very culturally aware and global minded. So there might be some cultural shocks, like of the food your classmate eats, or some traditions your classmate celebrates. But I think the most important thing is to respect their culture and just to not judge what they do, and also just be willing to learn from others and be welcome to embracing and understanding, learning what their culture is to offer, because that is also a very good way to expand your knowledge about the world, basically. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful suggestions. I think that first of all, we talk about that students should go to the syllabus and then find out what the curriculums are about, what to expect, and that feel free to contact the teachers, and then socially be culturally aware and be non-judgmental and always have a learner's mindset. Wonderfully presented. So, speaking of which, let's ask Wakanda another question. So, Wakanda, how do you think your international education has shaped you as a person, and what benefits do you believe it has provided you with?
I think one of the thing that contribute to my characteristics the most is it makes me more outgoing, because the environment in US is just like everyone would do something that you might think it's embarrassed, but they don't feel embarrassed at all, which so like it's a good thing, I think, because it's just create an atmosphere that people are not judging each other, or at least they're not commenting your behaviors in front of you, which provides you more courage to do the stuff you want to do and give you more support to be yourself as a person and not afraid of others' opinion.
Great. So, Karen, in your opinion, how does an international education prepare students for a globally connected world in the workforce?
I think international education like brings you into like the international it's internationalization, I think, because I'm in Australia. I think from high school to uni it's very internationalized, so there are people from many nations, and I think studying I mean starting to interact with people from other nations earlier gets you into like you can be used to or study how to communicate with people from other backgrounds earlier. So once you enter the workforce or in future where you connect with people from other nations, you have previous experience of what it will like be like. So for example, if you have differences or cultural differences or other differences, you might understand them better and have like more understanding of and like how you will communicate and stuff.
Okay, great. So I think you all have a wonderful understanding of the relationship between international education and a more diverse and open-minded way of doing things. So the questions are, for example, how did you cope with the feelings of homesickness and cultural shock while attending schools in a place that you're not familiar with? So I'll leave the question to Wakanda and Karen. So I will ask Wakanda first. So is there any moments that you feel homesickness or cultural shock, and how do you cope with that?
Yeah, I feel homesick every single day, especially when I step in the dining hall of our school, because the food there is just terrible. Like, I don't know how they finish all of their meals. It's not working for me. And how do I go overcome it? So there's a Chinese restaurant next to our school, and many students will order food on WeChat order food on WeChat and that's how I overcome it. But I can't order food every day, so I can just order once or twice or 3 times a week, I think. And yeah, I think food is one of the biggest problem I've met, because food is important. At least food is important for me. And in terms of something else for maybe missing family members, I think that's not a huge problem for me. I'm not a good example because when I was studying in China, I am living by myself, so I don't really have homesickness that often.
Okay, great. So let's move to Karen. Can you share any tips for building meaningful relationships and making friends in a new and unfamiliar environment?
I think just be like make yourself friendly first, and don't be scared of like speaking English to a native people. Like don't be scared of their accents and don't be embarrassed by them. And just yeah, I'm not quite sure because I think everything just comes naturally. Just be open to everything, and yeah, I don't know, because our school, like everyone is very friendly, so there's not such a problem, like too much problem of like making friends and stuff.
Okay, so because Wakanda just talked about the food, I'm just interested. Is there also cinnamon? I mean, is cinnamon also widely used in Australia? So that's a question for Karen.
Oh, I don't think so. Well, there definitely is, but I don't think it's widely used compared to China.
Okay, great. Because when I was listening to Wakanda's response, that reminds me of like one interesting story. When I first moved to the United States, it was like folks were preparing food. There were cinnamon. I didn't know what it was. I thought it has to be a chocolate because it looks like one. So I just grabbed one and tried to eat it. Turns out that it was very very unpleasant, so to speak. And folks were asking, "Hey, Tai Chi, what are you doing? Why would you eat any cinnamon?" So that is really interesting story that I hope to share with you. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. And I would leave the question to Cherry. So Cherry, can you give an example of a moment or experience from your high school years that truly impacted your personal growth and development?
Well, I'll have to say that it's our service trip. So, as you enter high school, that is like IGCSE to IB, year 10 to 13. Our school had this trip before COVID, where they will take us on a trip to Cambodia, and there we don't really travel that much, but we go to provide service to rural schools and basically help them by going to like a, a village, for example, and there they have this it's not even a school, it's more like a learning community where they provide free food, where it's called ABCs and Rice, and this place they provide kids with free healthcare, food, and education. So we went there to cook food for them, and we taught them Chinese and played games with them, etc., etc., etc. So that was something that was really memorable. First of all, because I spent my time doing something meaningful with my friends and my peers, and second of all, I think most of all, it was a valuable experience where I actually witnessed, I guess, poverty in front of my eyes and in a global aspect, because maybe I've witnessed poverty in China, but I've never seen poverty actually firsthand in other countries. And that made me realize the importance of, importance of education, and as well as how how privileged I was. That is what actually made me decide to decide to major in international relations and political science, something related to that, because I just feel like there's a need to change the conditions of poverty and trying to support our future generations in receiving the best education possible. But yeah, I think that experience was really important for me, and what was one of the most memorable experiences I had in high school.
So I think by talking about your service trip to Cambodia, you're referring basically to a personal journey that aims to develop cultural awareness and empathy. So my question will be, can you speak to the importance of that, which is to develop cultural awareness and empathy? And how does that experience necessarily equip you and other students, other of your fellow students, with the skills and knowledge needed to succeed in a rapidly changing and interconnected world?
Well, first of all, you're engaging in a community that you don't really live in, and it's kind of like jumping out of your comfort zone to try and do service to others on a global scale. So it helps to develop our mindset as like a global citizen, trying to help our future generations, no matter that's individuals from other countries, or if they're local. And I guess it also made us realize the importance of trying to help others and trying to support kids and our future generation. Okay, I'm getting a bit repetitive here, and it's just helps to develop our cultural and global awareness of the global issues that are actually happening around us. It helps us to engage with the Sustainable Development Goals, like for example, like SDG 1, no poverty, and how we can tackle that through supporting education, and how it's also interlinked with many other SDGs, such as reducing inequality, gender equality, and no hunger, and stuff like that.
Okay, great. So let's leave the next question to Wakanda. So Wakanda, what kind of support systems were available to you while attending high school in the United States, and how did they help you succeed?
Support system. I'm currently in 9th grade, so the support system I have right now is something called 9th grade program, which includes many aspects. So, first of all, like in the beginning of school year, I think they will do some orientation kind of stuff, to help you, just like know everything about high school. And they also have a special class called CORE, stands for Curiosity, Organization, Reflection, and Empathy. And in that class, we are told to just learn knowledge that are not taught in textbooks. For example, like how to do public speaking and how to like explore your identity and how to do time management. And I think that's really important, even though it's not being tested and it's not being graded, but it's just beneficial overall.
So, can you give an example of a time when you or a friend of yours or some folks that you have heard of sought from your school or community while in the United States, and how did the availability of resources and support system impact your overall experience attending high school in the United States?
I think this program helped me to just, I cannot say it helps me a lot, because you cannot expect something 30 minutes to change your life path or whatsoever. But I think all of these content accumulate can really contribute to your recognition towards the world and what things you value, because it's just something your teacher, or like my teacher back in China, or my parents wouldn't touch upon, or like your folks, your peers around you won't tell you, and people normally won't actively seek for information related to these areas because they think these are already things they know and they're already familiar with this. But actually, there's a lot of space for you to improve. And yeah, I wouldn't say one particular class helped me a lot, but the overall core lesson is useful.
My question is, I can see that perhaps the assistance from a organizational level is at least to some extent limited. Is there some other forms of support that you can gather from your friends and your fellow classmates, and how would that kind of support help you equip yourself during times of challenging events?
So I don't know for sophomores and juniors, but I know every freshman has their a proctor and a mentor. Mentor is the one who will check in with you for every 1 week or 2 weeks and just ask how's your school life going on, and it just helps me in terms of course selection and other, I don't know, afternoon program selection. And proctor is the one who's in charge of all of your stuff related to dorms, I guess. So like it teaches you how to do laundry, and it teaches you like how do you get access to the resources in school, and what are the things that are available or open to you, and like just normal stuff like what time to go to bed. And it sounds really like not important, but in the beginning of school, these are really something that a freshman needs.
Okay, it's fascinating to learn about the proctor and mentor system at your high school. So speaking of that, let's get to Karen. So Karen, can you share any unique experiences or opportunities that you had while attending an international high school in Australia specifically? Is there a memorable experience that you had while participating in cultural exchange or international program at your school? I think it was yesterday or 2 days earlier, when I was hanging out with Zhuang, and he said that you were a wonderful badminton player. Is that true? Have you played badminton while you're in high school?
Oh yeah. That's like the competitive Saturday sport thing.
So can you tell us more about that? And how did that experience shape your personal and academic growth?
Yeah, we actually it was more for fun. So there's like a competition every Thursday with other girls' school doing the same, like playing badminton against each other, and for a term, so for 10 weeks, and after 10 rounds, like depending on your score, you get a medal if you get first, and a runner up if you get second. So our team in year 12 came second, and yeah, it was really fun. So it's kind of like a relaxing, like out of school thing. So there wasn't much pressure because we didn't really expect a wonderful like result out of it, but I think it just it's just a lot of fun overall. Yeah.
Okay, that's great to hear. So can you share any insights or lessons learned from this experience that you would like to pass on to other students? Like, for example, I can see how the level of friendship and mutual support and a sense of collegial environment may play a role in that. And speaking of doing things that are fun, I think that's a particular field that I'm really interested in because for the time being, I'm actually building a board game. So I'm always interested in doing the fun things. So again, back to the question. The question is, how can you share any insights or lessons learned from this experience that you like to pass on to other students?
So firstly, since I played badminton from like quite a young age, I really enjoy playing badminton. So if you have a sport in your school that you really enjoy, I really encourage people to go for it because through doing the sport, like once you are in a team, everyone is like very supportive of each other, and yes, you do have friendship, and also across the years as well, because in our team there's consists of year 12s and year 11s, so we also made friends from year 11s, which is very like because it's very hard to make friends from another year, so it's a great opportunity. And also as a co-curricular, you it's just good to participate in this kind of like thing during your high school, because in uni it's harder to have a supportive team, and I think in for like a very well organized sports thing. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I totally resonate with that, building friendship with folks who are at different years with you. For me personally, I had the privilege of joining a board game group when I was a freshman, I think, in college. And then I got to know some wonderful, amazing folks who are already a sophomore, junior, senior. And then, well, we do things together by playing board games, and those events bring us closer. I certainly benefit from that, and I totally agree with your advice for the youngsters that you should find the things that you really like and really enjoy, and by participating in those things, you can potentially build friendships with others. Okay, so I totally agree with your point. So speaking of that, let's get to Cherry. So Cherry, how important do you think language skills are for a successful international high school experience, and how did you develop and improve yours?
Well, I guess language skills are quite important in an international school because you take lessons, you read, write, and speak in English in international schools, I guess, in most schools. And when you go abroad to study abroad, most likely, I'm assuming the UK, the US, or generally Europe or Australia, Canada, places like that, the major language they use is English. So language skills is quite important in my perspective, because if you want to write well in your essays, you want to do well in your exams, which requires good reading skills, you have to develop good language skills. And the way I try to develop my skills is trying to communicate and talk with people using English, because in my school in my year level, there aren't much Chinese students. So my friends are from Korea, Singapore, and Malaysia. As we talk to each other using English, and it helped me develop my speaking skills very fast, and helped me expand my vocabulary. But I think another way to voluntarily develop your language skills is to learn some new vocabularies. So, for example, using Quizlet or just to buy some vocabulary books. This is what I did for like 1 academic year. So I tried to memorize some new words because I realized that vocabulary is quite important, especially in high school, and I wanted to expand my vocabulary. And that's one thing. And another thing is to read books that are not too hard for your understanding, like not that you have to reach out for the dictionary to get every word you don't understand in one single page, but like something that fits your level of understanding with a little bit of challenge, so that while you can develop your reading skills, you can also try to expand your vocabulary through without hurting your the flow of your reading. I don't know if that was clearly expressed or not, but yeah, I think basically reading and communicating with others using English are two main ways to develop your skills. And another way to develop your skills, I guess, in writing is to participate in, for example, essay competitions. It'll also look good on your resume, CV, activity list when you apply to university as well. And you can ask for feedback for your from your teachers. They don't think that it's too extra. You can always try your best, and I believe they're willing to help you in any way. Yeah.
Okay, great suggestions. Okay, so I think we've come down to the last question for today's session. So the question is, if you could go back in time, is there anything you would do differently during your high school years? Now, I would like to give all of you 30 seconds to think about the question, and I'm going to ask you to respond. Now, again, the question is, if you could go back in time, is there anything you would do differently during your high school years? Let's get to Wakanda.
I think one thing I would do differently is I won't pressure myself too much. Because not everything I did is useful, or at least as useful as I thought, and I can't just focus on the thing I am interested in, like just develop the thing I'm interested in instead of trying to get involved in everything, which is kind of it's good and bad, but if it's too much, you gotta burn out. And I only have high school for once, and I would rather choose to lay down if I had a chance.
Definitely. I totally resonate with that. Okay, so the question for Karen, a little bit different, but basically the same. So the question is, can you share a specific situation or decision that you would change, and why? And how do you think that this change would have impacted your high school experience in future outcomes? Now, this is for Karen.
Okay, so for me personally, I really wish I had a better understanding of the uni systems and like scholarships and courses and like different degrees I'm offered and their requirements. So because for my year 12, I basically just stay in year 12, so I didn't look forward. So, and after I got into uni, I looked at the scholarships, and there are one that suggests like if you get a very high Gaokao score, you get $10,000 a year awarded to you. So yeah, if I saw those kind of scholarships and opportunities in year 12, that may be a source of my motivation. And yeah, so I think I really wish I have a more understanding of uni and take more time to plan myself a future career path. Yeah.
Exactly. I totally resonate with that. In fact, that's something that I feel for myself. I think there are certainly scholarships that you can dig into. And if I remember correctly, I think I remember correctly. So there is something called magna cum laude and summa cum laude. I'm going to send those things in the chat box. So if you have time, you can dig into that. They're basically honors for college students, which means that if you get a 3.9 out of 4.0 in your college, then you can obtain those honor titles, and you can put those honor titles in your resume. And also there were honor societies that you can join during college. So those things are not too late to find out. So you can definitely dig into that part later. Okay, so I think the last question for Cherry, which is basically the same with the other two. The question is, what do you wish you had known or done differently during your high school years, and why? And how do you think following that advice would have positively impacted your high school experience and future outcomes?
I actually totally agree with Wakanda. So first of all, just do what you're passionate about. If at first you cannot find a passion, then just do some extracurriculars or set up clubs related to the subject you're interested in school, and try to explore some more hobbies outside of school as well, related to sports, for example, or arts, or the arts, because I believe being creative will help you to relieve high school stress, and it is also a very meaningful way of self-development. And secondly, again, don't pressure yourself too much. High school will only happen for once, and you have a long way to go, and it's important to enjoy high school life, because especially in senior year, it's the last year you're going to spend with your classmates, your friends, and most likely you guys are going to go to like different countries to study, especially for international school students in China. And just appreciate the time you spend with the people around you, your family, your peers, your friends. And I guess last of all, and also very important, is to place your health before anything else. Try to value your mental health, your well-being, before academics or before your applications, because without health and well-being, then you will not be able to do anything, even if you achieve some kind of intended outcome, if you get what I mean. Because ultimately, college is not your final destiny, right? And you have a long way to go, and you have to be sure that you are healthy enough to finish this entire long life. Yeah.
Okay, I think that it has been a wonderful session. Now, in case folks have questions or more things to add, please just unmute yourself and feel free to share with the rest of us. If there's no more questions and no more comments, I think we can conclude this session for now. It has been wonderful timing. It's just exactly 1 hour. Okay, so if there's nothing else to add, have a wonderful weekend, and thank you for your time and patience in participation.
Thank you.
Thank you.